Listen to this episode if you want my raw thoughts on wanting ambition as well as a soft life. Today, we're going to talk about potential. We're going to talk about ambition. We're going to talk about space and peace and freedom and balance, something that I often talk about here very often. It's something that I call the freepreneur lifestyle. I've given a TED talk on it. It's something that I grapple with all of the time. Do I want to be stupid ambitious? But I also want balance. It's a tale as old as time. Can I have both? Is it possible to have what people call work-life balance as an entrepreneur and as somebody that truly has some stupid, ambitious goals? Today, I want to explore the dark side of being ambitious and having the desire and the potential to accomplish all the things on my heart. I know that I do. I know that I could. I know that I can if I put my heart and my mind and my brain to it. But what if I want a soft life and I want to be a mom and I want to live in the middle of the woods and I want to live on 20 acres and I want to live in the middle of nowhere and I want to enjoy being a family mom and I don't want to have all of this pressure in life that entrepreneurship involves? Is it wasted potential? Is it that I am wasting my life? What really does that involve? Today's going to be mostly unscripted. I have a couple of little notes that I just want to make sure that I have like key takeaways that I can touch on. I also have a poem that I'm going to be sharing today. It might be kind of vulnerable. I don't really write a lot of poetry. I want to make that very clear, but something about potential and the word potential. And honestly, what a shame it feels like in my mind of potential. Today, I really want to dive into these raw thoughts and really just have a conversation with you where you can hear where I stand on this. Because as somebody that literally studies work-life balance, I say with quotations, I've given a TED talk on work-life balance. It's something that I have lived lives that were very not balanced. I've lived lives that were very out of balance, meaning I also went super soft life. We kind of went through this pendulum shift of boss babe, go chase all your dreams, do all of these big things. And then we moved back to, okay, we all burnt out. Now let's go super soft. But I also don't like being soft. Like I think I see my friends and I see people that are totally content with working a little bit here and there, but traveling all of the time. And I love to travel, but I have ambitions that I want to chase. Yes, I've traveled full time a lot, but I also have ambitions of goals that I want to meet and achievements that I want to reach that I don't feel like I can actually achieve with a balanced, I guess not balanced. This is even where it comes back to, like, with a softer life. And it just doesn't feel like it's possible. So today I want to talk about this as somebody that has done a lot of studying of it, as somebody that feels like this is a lifelong practice, and also as somebody that is ambitious and chases goals and wants to come at this from a raw and a real conversation. Because I am just like you. I am a normal person. I make dinner, I shower, I have a husband, I go on walks, I get overwhelmed, I get anxious, I get belly issues, right? I get belly issues just like you do. We're all one and the same. And I want to come at this of like, we really are, my whole goal here on this podcast is it's like sipping coffee with a biz bestie. And I want this episode to be where we're sitting down and we're sipping coffee and we're talking about something real today. It's not just strategy, it's actual life as a business owner. If you're new here, this is a wild ride of an episode for you to join in on. But hello, I'm so happy you're here. My name is Madison Page. I am a business growth specialist. I work with consumer brands to help them become the next household name in their industry. I work with branding, marketing, community building, D2C sales, as well as I teach a very balance-based approach. I'm not going to be somebody that you're telling me you're not sleeping at all at night and I'm going to tell you, good, keep working, work harder. That's just not the case within my world. When I really look at my life, if you don't know my story, a quick 30 seconds. I worked at my family's business and I overworked myself and I would work 100-hour weeks for like 16 weeks straight for many years. By the time it was a seasonal business and by the time the season would end, I would be 20 pounds down. I would be burnt out, had no idea who I was anymore, had no idea how to like go back to normal society once the business shut down for the year. I'm so extroverted, it hurts some days. And I would literally want to crawl into a hole and not talk to anybody for months because I just was so depleted. So when I started my own business, it was my job as a business owner to say, I cannot live that life. Because truly, if you go and you listen to Alex Hormozy, if you go and you listen to these big time Elon Musks of the world and, all of these people, they all tell you need to work your butt off, hate your life, and it shouldn't be fun, is what you hear when you become a business owner. Yes, sign me up for that. I'm stoked to do that the rest of my life. And we sit here and we say, is it worth it? I have clients all the time. They're saying, Maddie, is this worth it? Is it worth my life? Is it worth, not being able to sleep? Is it worth me having 12 thoughts at one time, constantly feeling like I can't shut my brain off? And to that, I say there has to be some sort of balance that we can find. And honestly, I've now run my own business for 7+ years. I have found this balance, but I constantly get out of whack. And when I'm explaining it to people, my therapist, my mindset coach, whatever, I like to say that I feel like my brain is a court case and I am on both sides defending myself. I am one day saying, oh my gosh, I have all of these ambitions and I have all of these goals and I cannot wait to meet them. And literally on my deathbed, if I did not meet some of these goals within like achievements of my career, I would be so bummed because I know that if I work hard enough, I can do that, is truly how I feel. If I have the right information, which I know that I do, and if I work hard enough, I know that I can get there. Because now I've learned the strategy. I've learned the playbook. I've helped hundreds of people build their business. And I sit here and I say, Maddie, I could do so many things. I could have a product-based business. I have a bunch of softwares or apps that I would love to create. I would love to work with bigger brands and I would love to have a Netflix show, whatever. I would love to have all of these things. That would be awesome. And I know that I could do it if I just worked hard enough consistently because I have the strategy and I know that I can get there. And I know that if I worked harder on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, that I would get there sooner because I could accomplish more. If I hired more people, if I did more of this and I added more responsibility, I could get there. But then it's a Saturday morning and it's 11 a.m. and I'm sipping my coffee and I'm hanging out with my husband and I'm reading a book and I sit there and I say, I wish my life felt more like this more often. But then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be doing these other things because I have all of that other desire still in my heart. So no, I don't want to work 100 hours a week, but no, I also don't want to be like only this soft girl that balance driven that doesn't work very much and it has like this slow growth. And you've heard me say this before, this story is I will tell people about when I gave my TED Talk. I will tell people about my TED Talk and I will say, yeah, I teach like a freedom first, balance-based approach to business. And that's what my TED Talk is about. It's like, finding this balance within your identity outside of your business. And the people have said to me many times, oh, so you teach more of like a slow growth to business. And I say, no, it's not slow. It's like balance. It's harmonious because balance really isn't the word that we're looking for here. So yeah, like I should be able to have both, but why is it that when I go and I listen to all of these people, everybody says that it's not possible, even though I look up to them and I look up to the business that they have and that they've accomplished a lot of the things that I want. So is it actually possible? And this is one of the things that I constantly am talking about with my friends, with my mentors, with my coaches, with my therapists, is I don't understand how both of these things can be true at once because I have these ambitions and I really want to chase them. And I have these weeks that I'm so excited and I'm working until 9-10 o'clock at night sometimes because I want to. And then I have these weeks that I absolutely cannot do that. Mentally, it's just not something that I want. And so is it actually a lifestyle? Is it actually a practice? Is it actually a decision one way or the other? Or can both actually happen? And it's funny when I talk about this, I always feel like I'm almost processing. Like right now, I actually feel like I'm processing right alongside of you that like, you know what? Yes, I can have both. And it's okay for 1 week for me to be ambitious and for me to want to do this and for me to want to do all of these things. And I'm going to accomplish more this week. And then the next week for me to want to have this softer life. But how do we do this without being too push and pull? How do we do both of these things without disappointing other people that when we are, oh, this is a week we're really busy and this week, oh, all of a sudden I want to hang out with you. How do we do both of these things at once when if we add these responsibilities, pretty soon the responsibilities don't go away on a week to week basis? And I always come back to the word potential. Potential is a word that could actually make me go insane. And I say this as humbly as I possibly can. I know that I have the potential to build everything that I want to build. I know that I have the potential to truly make my business or my personal brand or the brands that I have clonking around in my head to be successful. And I know that I have decades left of my career. I'm young, all right? I have a lot of time left of my career. I know that I have this potential, but I also know that I have time. And I also know that I'm a couple years maybe away from having kids. I know that when I have kids, I'm going to want to sit there and stare at their beautiful little faces and watch them run around my backyard and be very involved in them growing up. And do I feel like I can do two of those same things, be as involved mom as I want to be, as well as being as ambitious as I want to be? And I sit here and I think about the word potential and I say, I have the potential. And if I were to think about my worst fear, it really is not reaching it, whether that is a healthy belief or not. I have identity outside of my business. I know right now if my business crashed and burned and it went away, I have built enough identity as a person, which is what my TED Talk was all about. You can find it on my website if you want to go listen to it. It's on YouTube, it's on the TED app, it's on all these things. But I know that right now, if my business crashed, I would be okay. Would it hurt? Yeah, of course. If my business broke down, it would be a big deal. For sure. But I have identity and I know that I am so much more than my business. And I also know I could build another one. I have so many business ideas. I would start another business idea the next day. I would maybe give myself a week to grieve and move right along, right? I have so many business ideas that I would just move along to the next business. And so it's not the fact that if my business went away anymore, I have an identity outside of my business. I have hobbies, I have friendships, I have relationships, I have my husband, I have my family. I have things that I love, people I love, and other things outside of myself. I have built my identity outside of business. But my identity and something I love to do is being a business owner and chasing my goals. This is why, when we go back, I was 12 years old and I've had already 5 businesses. I constantly had a business. I constantly had a project. It's why I started this business in college was because I was bored. And I know that when I have kids, I am going to still want to have something that I am chasing as well. And maybe my mompreneurs out there can say, Maddie, stop thinking about this so hard. Kids are a blessing. And I know that they are, but there is still this thought in my mind that kind of goes back to this idea of maybe it's kind of desirable to not have all of this guilt around not being able to chase my ambitions all of the time. I know right now that I have my identity outside of business, is I would be very upset if I didn't reach my potential. And I know I have potential in other ways. I have potential to be a good mom. I have a potential to be a great friend. I have potential to just be a good person in society. But I know that I have career potential. And it's something that I truly, deeply, viscerally desire to have. And so when I look at some of my biggest pet peeves, and it's literally the core of why I do what I do, I despise wasted potential. It's why I am a consultant. People ask me all the time, Maddie, why don't you just start your own product-based business? First of all, I have, and I scaled it, been there, done that, and I was ready to teach people how to do it. But could I do it again? Yeah, and I might someday. But what I really love about what I do working with business owners is that I make sure that people don't have wasted potential. It's literally my biggest pet peeve in life. I see people with brilliant ideas and products that just don't have the resources and the knowledge to build it. They have the drive, they have the desire, they have the idea, they have all of these things. And ultimately, they shut down their business because they just don't know how. It breaks my heart every time I see a post on Instagram that says, we're closing down, going on a business sale, or hey, we're going in a different direction because this was just too hard. I want their potential for them. It kills me when I see somebody that has an idea that is literally so good on Instagram or in real life, my friends, people I meet, and they're telling me about this business idea. I'm immediately excited for them because they see this potential and they want to meet it. But a lot of times, I do what I do because I know I am the bridge to help people make their potential easier to reach because I have the skill set. I've taken the time. I've built all of these frameworks and these strategies and all of these things. And so it's literally what I do. But then sometimes I just can sit and dream about being able to go to work at 9, clock out at 5 and not think about work from 5 to 10 p.m. when I go to bed, and not think about work all weekend long, and not when I'm watching a movie with my husband at night, my dog snuggling on the couch, and I say, should I go grab my laptop and just design a couple of Instagram posts, or, just do some light work, maybe check my email. And, I hate that I feel like I have the brick. If you don't know what that is, it like blocks all of my work apps after 6 p.m. on my phone. And I hate that I have to do that, because I literally, like, the amount of hours that it has saved me of just like spending time working when I should be present with the people around me is humbling, to say the least. And so I always go back and forth. And again, I'm not a poet. Okay? Don't come for me about my poet abilities. This was something that I wrote the other night. I was reading a book, naturally. This is how my brain goes. I was reading a book about people that were writers. And for whatever reason, I all of a sudden was inspired to be a writer. This is how I've been my whole life, is like I would watch a movie about a wedding planner, and all of a sudden I would map out being a wedding planner. And this was what my whole life was going to be. I don't know if that's relatable to anybody. It's how I am. I am so impressionable. And I have these like little spurts of 1 to 2 week inspirations when I read these books about somebody doing something. I'll read a book about a kickboxer, and all of a sudden I'm going to kickboxing classes. And I'm like, Maddie, is this something I actually like? No, it's not. It's just something that I was inspired by. And so I was reading this book about writers, and I decided to write this poem. I finished the book and I was like, I'm going to go do this. I wrote a collection of poems, and this is just one of them. And this is, again, vulnerable. Okay? Hey, I've been getting some DMs that you may not know what I do outside of hosting this podcast. I actually work with product-based business owners every single day to help them grow and scale their brand. If you really want my eyes one-on-one inside of your business to look at your strategy, to look at your funnels, to look at your data, and to develop your next campaign or bring your business or your idea to life, that is exactly what I do every single day. I've worked with 500 plus businesses across 70 different industries to help them become the next household name in their industry. If you are craving a business brain, a strategic advisor, a data-centered, obsessed person to come into your business and help you bring your idea to life, I'm your gal. Come on over to my Instagram at @thisismadison page, DM me support. Otherwise, you can click the link in the show notes to apply today. Okay, back to the episode. There's so much weight in the word potential. What happens if it's never reached? Is it just a black hole? Poof, gone? An ether of could have beens, dreams, ideas, achievements. Is it actually as tragic as my brain makes it out to be? Wasted, worthless, what a shame. What a shame potential is. Pushing and pulling on my dreams to enjoy now, but to also not be left on a cliffhanger of guilt, of possibility, of freedom, of dreams. What a shame. So I keep going. What I'm basically trying to say, if you don't get it, is potential is this word that constantly sits on my heart, is because I know that I could do all of these things. Does that necessarily mean that I need to, or that I should, or that I have to? I know that I have the potential, and I think I have the desire to do it, but I don't know if I have the desire to live the life that my brain tells me is necessary in order to reach that potential. And I think a lot of this goes back to timelines. I think a lot of this goes back to, we put these time constraints. I have decades of my career left, and I know I can achieve so many things. I know that I can have kids and still work logically, but emotionally, I'm constantly in my brain as this court case of trying to figure out, do I want to live a softer life or do I want to be ambitious? And then I say, well, I can do both. And then I get an idea that I'm super excited about and that I am going to chase, and I do it for a couple of weeks. And then I say, okay, the allure of this idea kind of wore out on top of doing everything else that I'm already doing. I'll do it, but I'll just do it, 1 day a week instead of 5 days a week now. And then I do that. And then okay, now I finally have balance of everything that I want to do, but now I feel like I'm moving too slowly. I feel like I need to move faster. I feel like I want to do these things more. And then I get to this point again where I'm like, okay, I'm doing too much. I need to go back to balance. And so I want both, but I don't see evidence of people talking about both being possible. I don't see evidence of people that say, no, I did reach my potential, but it was after 10 years. And I say that this isn't a slow way of growth, but I know that if I worked harder, I could get there sooner. So it might be a slower way of growth, but is it worth it to live a life that I don't feel burnt out? Because I've lived the life that I was burnt out chronically. I've lived the life that my nervous system is out of whack. And let me tell you, nervous system regulation in 2026 is in. We're doing that shit. I sit outside, or I sit at like the top of a mountain in the summer when I'm climbing them, and I'm like, just did a hike, and I'm like, okay, I don't need to race to the bottom now. I can just sit here and enjoy. I can be in the grocery store and not feel like who am I racing when I'm shopping? Because I'm constantly running and I need to do this and I need to do that. I feel like I'm buzzing is what I say to my friends all the time. I feel like I have 12 thoughts at once. I feel like I'm buzzing. And then I say, okay, I'm going to try to build this slower and I'm going to just live with the fact that I know that I could build faster if I just worked harder. Is that the case? I don't even know. And it's the books that I read, like Essentialism, one of my favorite books that I've ever read, that makes me feel like maybe we're just doing too much. And this is one of those podcast episodes that I want you to know that I don't have all the answers. I am really good at branding. I am really good at marketing. I am really good at building community. I am really good at building direct-to-consumer sales. I'm really good at growing product-based businesses. But being a business owner is a forever practice. And it is a forever personal growth endeavor. Because as I grow, I'm growing as a human. I'm adding other responsibilities. I have a husband. I have a dog. I will soon have children, hopefully, if I'm lucky. And I look at these things and I say, okay, my business and my life will forever evolve. And I think that it's something that is a really beautiful process, is that it really is a practice. I do want both, but I don't see evidence of people doing both all the time. And when I do, I hold them very near and dear. And I always am like, yo, can we talk about this? Because I feel like we need to do that. But I have to create something that isn't already out there. And then I don't have very much evidence around it actually being true. And I have created it. I've done it. My life is lovely. I want to make that so incredibly clear. My life is lovely. I love my job and I'm able to turn my phone off most weekends at 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Sometimes I take noon off. Some days I will take full days off in the middle of the week. I'm in Home Goods at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday and I'm the people that people are like, what does that lady do for a living? Like I have built the freedom, but I also have so many goals that I still want to accomplish. And I have so many things. And so yes, I have identity outside of my business. I have all of these hobbies. I do whatever. I do yoga. I do pottery. I go on hikes. I have friends. I have all of these other things that I really love to do. And I love to cook and I love to bake. And Layla Hermosi is somebody that's starting to talk about this, like kind of having both. Is like, she says, I can be a CEO and still want to make dinner for my husband at night. I can do both of these things. There's nothing wrong with that. But there isn't a lot of people out there that is having that conversation. And when I started in business, and I'm sure when many of you started in business, you read all of these growth books. You read all of these, what does it take? And you listen to the interviews and you listen to the podcasts of people saying, work harder, hustle harder. It's gonna suck. I've heard Emma Grede. This is what my whole TED Talk was about. So sometimes if you've listened to it, I feel like I quote it almost, but you have to memorize those things so much that it sometimes just pops out. But Emma Grede is somebody that says you should hate your life 30% of the time. You should be fine the other 30, and then you could be really loving it 30% of the time to be a successful business owner. And I don't know if I'm willing to accept that. I don't hate my life 30% of the time. I don't hate my life 10% of the time. And I feel very privileged and lucky to be able to say that, but I love what I do. Of course, there's things I don't want to do accounting. I don't want to sit and talk to legal about things, trademarks and whatever. That stuff doesn't light me up. But I don't hate it. It's fine. And I think that there's certain things that we have to do in business, but there's also certain things that we have to understand that is it worth our happiness on a day-to-day basis to live this way? So with that brain dump to say, I have a couple of key takeaways, and something that I am figuring out alongside of you is how do we actually build this harmony? And I wanted to create this episode because I do think a lot of times people will come to me and they're like, you seem like you have it all figured out. You seem like you're doing everything. You seem like you're doing it all at once. And I was listening to a podcast episode that's my favorite. I love them. It's called We're Your Girls. And it's a lighthearted comedy podcast. You probably know the two lovely ladies that host it from Instagram. And they were talking about how we always feel like somebody else is getting it all done. And when truly, if you ask the people that you feel like you're getting it all done at once, they're not. And I feel like that way about me. I have a lot of clients that are like, how do you do it all? How do you get everything done? You're building your own business. You're building everybody else's business. You have a life and you say that you're doing all of these things outside of business. And to that, I say, I'm not doing all of it. Because it really is an opportunity cost. Every time that I choose to go to lunch with my friends at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, I am choosing that tomorrow I'm going to have to work a little bit harder because I have other things that I didn't do today. I know that if I am shutting off on the weekends, it means that my weeks are a little bit more packed and I might not be able to go to lunch on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday if I fully check out and I fully clock out. This is something that is a constant practice. We have seasons of push and pull. I have seasons of launches that take me a lot more time, and I have a lot of people in my DMs, and I have a lot more on my plate those weeks than an average week. I have weeks that I look at my calendar, I'm like, wow, I have no client calls other than my weekly calls. Really cool. I have extra time this week. Where do I want to spend that extra time? Do I want to go get a massage, or do I want to create 10 more pieces of content? I really think it's a constant practice. It's a lifelong search. And we have to realize that if this is a life that you desire, is to have both of these things. I have some friends that are like, Maddie, I couldn't care less about a soft life. Like, I want an ambitious life. I want to live in the penthouse, and I want to do all of these really cool things. And I do really want to work all day long. And I love that for them. So happy for them for that. And I want to be ambitious, but I do also want to have a really fulfilling life. And if you look at my Pinterest, I have a board that is like me, or whatever, inspiration. And it's all reading a book, and it's going thrifting, and it's, living on land, and it's hiking, and it's cooking fun meals, and it's flower arrangements and home decor, and it's normal life things. And then I have another one that's business, and all of the quotes are work harder, hustle harder, you don't waste your life away. And I think the disparity and the duality between those two things is really hard to grapple with. And so if you're sitting in this, all that I really want to say in this episode is that you're not alone. Every one of my colleagues that desires both of these things are having these conversations. Every one of my people that have, millions of dollars of business, billion-dollar businesses, whatever, talk about these things. And I want you to know that I have been in rooms with 8-figure business owners, 9-figure business owners, and they're talking about wanting a family. They're talking about wishing that they had the time and the space to go and find relationships and friends and people in their lives more, and that they had more time to do things, and realize that everybody is seeking this. And if you go and you listen to these people, Mark Cuban, I listened to an interview of Mark Cuban the other day, and he was one of the biggest proponents when I was growing my business. And I would listen to him, and he would say, yeah, no, you got to grind. You got to hustle. I slept on a couch with one of my friends for, months and years because I just spent every dollar back on my business. And now he's saying, my biggest goal right now is I want time with my kids. I want time at home. I want to enjoy. He's a billionaire, and he's just now coming to that realization that, holy shit, life kind of matters. Other things matter than just business. If you go and you listen to any of your idols, they're talking about this too. And so the only thing that I can say definitively here, because again, I'm learning alongside of you with it, this is something that I'm constantly grappling with, is that it's a constant practice. It's a lifelong search. And that it's something that there's not a lot of evidence out there, and not a lot of people, talking about how you really do it. And how you do it is you realize some weeks are busy, some weeks are slow. Sometimes you might overwork yourself, and sometimes you might want some time off. And you have to be able to identify at the end of the day, what are your needle movers? What are your non-negotiables? And how can we have a strategy that we are positive is working for us? So every hour we are working, we know we are getting closer to reaching our goals, and that it's not wasted time. If anything in business, I know that I have identified what is a waste of time. I have identified this is not worth my time. This is not worth my time. I try it. I have an allotted 5 hours a month of wasted time to see, is this something I'm playing with this? Let me do networking this week. Let me, try to reach out to these people and have these calls. Maybe I'll hop on these calls with these people, or I'll do these different things that feel like me just testing. That's the noise of my month. And I will say, is it a waste of time, or was it worth it? If it was a waste of time, I knock it off my list. I'm not going to keep doing it. And if it was worth it, I will rearrange, and I will find the opportunity cost of where it makes sense. It's identifying what are your opportunity costs, identifying what are your values, and understanding that we have to remove the guilt around life, because life is also a potential. You have the potential for a beautiful life. And honestly, I could cry talking about this, and I feel it creeping on up. You have the potential to live a beautiful life, and both of these things can be true at once. You have a beautiful life, and you reach the goals that you really want in business. You have the family and the friends and the relationships, and you get to reach your goals. Maybe it does happen a little bit slower. I don't know, but I am okay reaching my goals 2 to 3 years later if it means I enjoyed the process of getting there, and that I didn't absolutely kill myself to make that happen. I didn't lose all my friends and I didn't lose my relationships and I didn't lose myself in that process. So understand that yes, we can be ambitious. Yes, we can have all of these goals. Yes, we can fear wasted potential, but we also have time. We have the time to make this stuff happen, and it's worth it to enjoy that time. Because if I looked back at the last 7 years of me owning this business, and I said, man, I really didn't have a life, I would actually be sadder than not being at the point of business that I am today, right? And we have to really look at those things, and you have to identify what your values are. And again, if you don't relate to this, that's totally fine with me. I know even if it relates with one person, because I have these conversations with friends and colleagues and other people in these big ambitious rooms all the time. And I wanted to bring this to you because I'm not getting it all done. I'm not perfect. And no, I am not absolutely have this all mastered every single day. It is something that I feel like I get to the point that I have it mastered. And then I say, ooh, maybe I need to reevaluate. I overwork myself, or I get a new idea and I'm really excited about it and I'm working harder. There are seasons that are stretchier. There are seasons that are push. There are seasons that are pull. There are seasons that are balanced, and there are seasons that are out of whack. And I think as business owners, we just have to identify which season we're in, if it's necessary, and if it aligns with the values that we currently have. I hope that this was helpful for you. If you liked this, please tell me, because I know when this episode goes out, I'm going to be like, ooh, maybe that was an overshare on the internet. So please let me know how you feel about it. You can join our Slack community. I'm sure we'll be talking about it in there with the other business owners in there. It's completely free. It's our podcast community. Would love to chat with you in there. Otherwise, I would love to chat with you on Instagram at This Is Madison page. I love when you send me DMs because I can stalk your business and we can actually have a real conversation about this. If this is something that you resonate with, please let me know, because I may have just overshared for 30 minutes on the internet and maybe I didn't, but I hope that this was helpful for you. And if it helped one person, that's all that matters. And honestly, I feel like it helped me process. So at the end of the day, that's a win for me, is that it helps me process to realize when I'm talking about it and we're saying it out loud, yeah, they are both possible. Yeah, it might take a little bit more time, but I would rather that more time be there than have me need to absolutely murder my everyday time, my body, my mental health, my nervous system, and my relationships and everything else in order to actually make it happen. That's the conclusion we came to today, folks. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always. And I will see you in the next episode. And share this with a friend if you feel like they need to hear it or you want to talk to them about it and get their perspective on it. Share it with your biz bestie. Share it with that big, ambitious group of people that you have and say, what are your thoughts on this? Is this girl freaking insane or what? Because it might actually help you learn that you're not as alone as you feel like you are. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Growth Podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So if you love this one, make sure that you're subscribed so you never miss a conversation. If you want more conversations with me and other business owners, make sure that you join our completely free podcast community, the Founders Cafe. The link is in the show notes. You can get bonus resources, access to free coaching calls, as well as connect with like-minded business owners like yourself. Make sure that you rate and review the podcast 5 stars, share it with a friend to keep those conversations moving, and come back every Tuesday and Friday. I'll see you there.